and what you do.
David James Clarke IV. I'm
Along the line of David James Clarke.
I know, that's right. And you all remember the Dave Clarke 5, which was the Beatles before the Beatles. They started the British Revolution, or the British invasion in the U.S.
You're not related to them, are you?
1962. I'm not.
Oh,
but,
okay.
But that's my claim to fame. So,
right,
no,
okay.
the founder of Toolwire, which we're an experiential learning provider. We build things called LearnScapes, which are immersive learning environments for delivery and online programs, primarily into for-profit higher education in the U.S. and corporations. I have a background. I worked for Disney for many years. I have a degree in genetics.
Wow.
I have written 30 books. So a very diverse kind of background.
I think you talked a bit about prosumer, and can you explain to me what a prosumer is?
Yeah, prosumer is it's this new generation of learner, new generation of consumer that would much rather produce than consume.
Yeah.
And so, perfect example, music. I used to buy CDs.
Yeah.
And my generation would consume the music. Well, now the next generation wants to download the music and create their own CDs. So they're producing music.
Yes.
So learning's very much the same way. If I was in a class once with a professor, and he was teaching. I was just guest lecturing, and in the back of the room was a father and a son. Mm-hmm. And the father was listening, and I was, giving my lecture.
Yeah.
And the son was on his laptop the whole time, and I heard them have a conversation at the break.
Yeah.
And the father was like, "You're being so disruptive, disrespectful, being on the laptop. You weren't listening, you weren't learning."
Yeah.
And he said, "You're wrong. I was already building new programs or doing things that he was talking about."
Right.
During the class. He was producing material.
Yeah.
So if you can find a way to get students to engage in the learning process themselves, to become producers, there's a principle called the Borg effect, which is named after the Star Trek show.
Okay.
And the idea is the sum of the value, or the total value of the knowledge in a classroom is the sum of all of the student experiences. It's not just the instructor. And if the instructor comes out and just kind of, regurgitates all the great knowledge, you're getting one person's perspective.
Yeah.
But if you let 20 people talk or collaborate, you're getting 20 people's perspective.
Right.
And so if you can find a way, so first of all, the next generation, or the newer generation, is much more interested in producing than consuming. Secondly, you can get much better, more valuable knowledge if you find a way to pull it out of the students. The best way to learn is to apply. That's how the cognitive learning cycle works, is you have to apply. And so that collaboration allows one to take what they've learned and apply and discuss, reflect, all of that. We worked on a project with Microsoft a few years ago where they wanted to take a bunch of their PowerPoint classroom training online. Well, if you've ever seen a class where you take PowerPoint and deliver it online, it's horrible, right?
I've seen it. I've trust me.
You've experienced
I've been
it.
told to do it.
So we had to go back and basically rip all the PowerPoint apart and make them all interactive activities. We did polling. We did, whiteboarding, and allowing the students to, what do you think of this, or can you build this, or what, how many of you think this kind of thing? And so, after about 2 or 3 sessions, 1 or 2 hour sessions of this, the students really started to understand that the responsibility for learning was not on the instructor, but it shifted over to the students, and the students started to take ownership of their own learning and became producers, and also much more engaged and bought into the learning process. And then they took it back to work, and they started to, it started to snowball.
In the States, you guys are definitely ahead of us in the game when it comes to the use of learning technologies, just in general, instructor-led courses, and you guys are definitely ahead of the curve.
Well, I think in California, in Silicon Valley, there's a tremendous amount of energy around breaking down the walls of pedagogy, still creating instructionally sound content, but doing it in a much more entertaining, immersive, engaging kind of way. Experiential is really kind of the key word. You want to make learning, stick. But I think the adoption of some of these things is wonderful in the UK. I mean, UK is, our second largest market.
Yeah.
And we love I'm flying over tomorrow to give a presentation for the IITT Awards.
Oh, okay. Yes.
In Coventry, and the fact that those kinds of awards.
I trained there.
Oh, you did.
I've got my e-learning facilitation and certificate
wonderful.
and stuff.
Okay.
That's why Institute of IT Trainers. Yeah,
That's
so I'm a member of those. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And I think. So that kind of institute doesn't exist, I think, in the US. So I think there's a culture in the UK around e-learning and around.
Well, that's the Institute of IT Training, and there's another body called, for example, the CIPD, which is more HR, and it's less about technology. So I suppose because I've been trained by the Institute of IT Training and the techniques they use and the philosophies that they have stood me in good stead to kind of be on the path that I am at now, because they're very much about experiential, very much about getting you to do stuff.
Right, hands-on, learning by doing.
And teaching you to teach other people to do that. So as an IT trainer, it's always, don't show them. Okay, you show them once, but then you let them do it, let them practice it, let them have a go. So that's embedded in my psyche as a person when I train people, is don't do it for them. Don't tell them. Get them to do it. Get them to find out. Get them to ask the question, and get them to challenge themselves. So
in 1993, when I founded the company, we're almost 20 years old, I was a professor at UC Berkeley, and it was around at the School of Business, and it was around this experiential stuff in class, just like you're talking about, that I got excited about. How can we replicate this online? The web came around in the mid-90s, and so that was really the genesis for the company, and now I do a lot of speaking and these types of things. So
well, I thank you so much for giving me some of your time.
Oh, of course. And I'm enthralled with your enthusiasm.
Oh, thank you, and I hope that I hope I can compile something together from all the interviews that is something that I can show to people in my company and get them to be even a little bit as energized as I am about some of the things that are out there.
At 10% of your energy would be wonderful.
And some of the things that we can do. Thank you so much.